Yeah, let's talk about the bigger picture. Let's talk about how we be ballin', playing with the Wizards. Let's talk about the Nats and how they always got good pictures. Let's talk about the cats who rescue, turn them boys to winners. Injuries and updates, oh yeah. To the opponent, we stand toe to toe, yeah. To the top, this podcast gonna go, yeah. I think it's something you should know, yeah.
Good evening, everyone. This is Nathan from Ref the District. I'm here with Steve from the Command This podcast. We're going to get to the sports in just a moment. We know that you come to us for entertainment, for our sports takes, and sometimes, really to get away from, real life for just a little bit. But we wanted to address the shooting that happened in Texas. I'm a dad. He's got Steve, you got 3 boys yourself.
Yes, sir. 3 boys.
And so, these situations, they really hit home for us because, we had to send our boys to school today with armed guards and, active shooter situation in mind. And so this is really us just kind of pleading, I don't know how to solve it. I don't have all the answers. I don't even have all the answers for sports. And I watch, these guys play, endlessly, but something needs to be done. The New England Journal of Health, Steve, I don't know if you know this, they actually list guns as the leading cause for children's deaths over car accidents, over everything like that. So whatever the answer is, I know there's a lot of schools of thoughts on it. We just want to see some sort of action being done for that. And we wanted to send our condolences to the families who didn't get to hug their little ones coming back from school. So Steve, you got anything to add to that?
Yeah, just same thing like you said, Nathan. First off, thanks for having me. And the answer can't be nothing, not nothing. Sorry for the double negative. I don't know what the answer is like you, but it can't be nothing. So yeah, sending my 3 boys to school today. It's same sentiments as you. It's tough, and you never want to see that. Kids shouldn't have to go through that. They shouldn't have to be afraid in their learning environment. So, yeah, God bless everybody who is enduring this right now.
Absolutely. Well, like I said, I know you come here for the sports, so we're going to get to that right now here on Ref the District. Greetings and salutations. Again, I'm Nathan Perry here with Ref the District. We appreciate those who stuck around for that kind of segue, that for addressing the situation. We do have a good show for everybody. As you saw, we're going to bring in Steve from the Command This podcast. He is our stoner stand-in, our temporary Trev, as both of those two are out. As you can see, I actually don't have, for those who are watching live on YouTube, I'm not in my normal location. So I'm on location today. Stoner was unable to get a quality connection as he's island hopping still over there with his family. And Trev took on a job, make sure that he is set up, because I don't know if you follow him on Twitter. I don't want to give up too much, but he's been putting it on Twitter. He is about to become a business owner. So we're really proud of Trev. And so he's been making sure things are set up for that. So that's why they are out. They will be back. Tanner, hi to you. We've got a good show for you here. We live stream every Wednesday at 7:30 on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. And then it goes out to all of your favorite audio platforms. So you can listen to us on the go wherever podcasts are found. We are sponsored by Pacers Running. For every run, check them out. They're going to have some good shoes for you. You're going to see your boy get a little bit more trim, as I weighed in at a medical appointment just this week at 265. And yeah, I'm about 6'4", but that's a little bit heavier than I want to be. So Pacers Running going to get me there with the right pair of shoes. And without further ado, let's bring on Steve from the Command This podcast. Steve, thank you for joining us and talking some Commanders football.
Hey, what's up, Nathan? Thank you for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity. I don't know if I can fill, Big Trev in Stoner's shoes, but I'll do my best.
You're going to be just fine. If you have not had the opportunity yet, make sure you go out to the Command This. They were the Washington Football Addicts, recently rebranded. And so they have some good content out there. And Steve has been a longtime friend of the channel. Happy to have you out here. Shout out to P-Dub, Kenneth, Gus Buss, and Doug Ford with Tanner all in the chat as well. Tanner's telling me I gotta, or he's saying same deal, got to cut the carbs. I don't know, man. I just chowed down on a whole bunch of French fries for dinner. It's that kind of traveling food mentality. You just got to have whatever's there. Yeah, it's definitely something. I look in the mirror. I'm like, okay, maybe I'm past dad bod. You know, we talked about being dads earlier. Yeah, I'm past that dad bod sense here. So I don't know about you, Steve. You hit the gym a lot?
Oh yeah, I usually 3-4 times a week. I stopped running just because knees and back. You know, former Army guy, so I'm just thrashed. So I've been doing a lot of treadmill walking and weighted vest walking. So that's how I'm doing my cardio these days. But yeah, I'm just like you, trying to keep it down. Got that summer shred going on. So yeah, it's just got to improve ourselves. That's all you can do.
I have some rotten luck. So last year I spent $700 on a row machine because I love to row. I'm in Annapolis. You know, we got the kayaks and everything. My appendix burst and they had to tear open into me to take care of that. And so I haven't been able to really use the row machine because I've been recovering from that. And then I've now, you know, also active duty Air Force, got some of those same kind of things, bad knees, everything. Yeah. It's just got to keep walking, doing something, stay active. Maybe not as active as our guys there down in Ashburn as they do some OTAs. We'll be talking about the OTAs and the contract talk for Terry McLaurin and Deron Payne. He's another one who somebody on Twitter said walked out because of the contract dispute. He has disputed that. We'll talk about that during the game. And the post game, we'll talk about the distraction that was Monday and the stadium location. Washington reportedly having bought some land down in Virginia. Will that be where the new stadium is? That's all coming up in the cool down, rather, not the post game. And here for the warm up, we're going to talk about our favorite individual within the organization, Dan Snyder. Reports came out, Steve, over the weekend that owners are kind of starting to count up how many votes they have to oust Dan Snyder. Do you believe any of that?
It's really hard because we know, like any close-knit group of guys and gals, that you don't out one of your own. It's just a natural thing. But, you know, they said they needed 24 votes to get him out the seat. And I just don't see 24 votes coming. I know you got one in Mara, Mr. NYG. We don't like you. Yeah, I don't see 24 votes. I really, really, really don't.
Yeah, I think it's going to be real hard to get to 24. I think that he's still, you know, Dan Snyder's very buddy with Jerry Jones. And as you mentioned, there's a couple others who are probably not going to turn on him because I think there's an honest fear within the other owners that he's going to burn the place down to the ground if he gets thrown out. Right. So he's not going to go down without a fight. And, you know, you kind of see some of this, especially as, you know, more information's kind of came, you know, around with the Gruden emails. You know, he's a feisty guy there. So the 24 votes, I think, is going to be hard. Now, I do think that there are some owners that are probably unhappy with him. And I do think that there's some smoke there. But do you feel like if you had to say, you know, if Dan Snyder's going to be removed within the next 5 years, would you put $5 on that, $10 on it? How certain would you be that Dan Snyder would be no longer associated with the Washington Commanders within 5 years?
Yeah, I think it's very possible, but I think it'll get to a point where, you know, he's going to die on that hill. It'll be I'm going to sell the team. I'm going to resign the team. You know, not like a Richardson or I forget the other gentleman's name that were forced to sell, but I don't think it'll be, you're going to be voted out. I mean, think about this. If you're in a group of people, wouldn't you want to keep around the worst performer because it just makes you look better?
Yeah, you mentioned Mara wanting to oust him, but I don't know that that's the case. I mean, you know, the NFC East looks at how bad Washington's been over the 2 decades that Dan Snyder's been the owner, and why would you remove that? Like those are, you know, relatively, you know, easy victories you can kind of put on the calendar for yourself. So why would you get rid of that? Or even within the NFC, I think that some of these owners, I think if I had to take a guess, Steve, you're probably looking at some of the newer owners who maybe don't have as much dirt on them, haven't really been around, and are looking at this product. You got to think Washington, DC, the DMV area here is like the fourth biggest market. And you were doing abysmal on sales and fandom and everything like that. And so these new owners who bought in are like, wait a minute, like we can't have that. That's money on the table that they're losing. And so, I think that might be something. Kevin would not put my dollar on it. He thinks, and to be fair, here at Ref the District, we would not put a dollar on it either. We think that Dan Snyder's here to stay. The only thing that's going to get rid of Dan Snyder is going to be if someone catches him on camera, recorded somewhere, making racist remarks. That's about the only way.
Or Dan Snyder himself, like that.
Yeah.
And honestly, if it did go that route with the owners, now you're opening Pandora's box. You are opening a microscope under every team. Does every team want to be? I'm sure they all have skeletons. We're just us and the Raiders, just the unlucky ones for right now. So just for those reasons alone, I don't think it's going to be an owner voted action. I really don't.
Yeah, it's going to have to take a lot. We'll see. Tanya Snyder tested positive for COVID, so she's not even going to be at the owners' meetings. So is Dan going to be there for that? I don't know. I think that there was a lot of hope last year as we entered the season with Tanya doing things that we didn't see Dan do, right? So she came out during the at Richmond, talked with fans, kind of pumped us up, and people I thought were really excited at that point. Not quite the excitement going into this season, though. Do you feel the difference, Steve?
Yeah, I think it's the honeymoon period's wearing off. I think a lot of the fan base. I mean, we had the new name, yes, the uniforms, which are fire, but I think we're all at a point where it's just like, hey, the dog and pony show's over. Let's see results. Let's see it on the field. That's the most important thing right now at this juncture, I think.
Absolutely. And speaking of on the field, we're going to wrap up the Dan Snyder talk because we don't really want to talk about him. We want to talk about the players. So coming up here on The Game, it is going to be OTAs and contract talk. The Game is brought to you by Pacers Running Stores. Pacers has 6 stores in Northern Virginia and DC. For the best running footwear, apparel, and gear, just stop by or schedule a virtual fitting with the best running experts in the business. Pacers Running exists to help as many people as possible through running. For every run, it's Pacers Running. OTAs are underway there in Ashburn, Virginia. Some content creators, ourselves included, Ref the District, are able to get there. We're going to see what we can do to get our man Steve and the Command This team out there as well. I think there's going to be some content creators out there tomorrow, and I think I've heard some of that. Myself and Trev will be there Tuesday, and if there's any requests, what you want us to bring back for either a Tuesday special show or Wednesday show, which should have both Stoner and Trev back for that one, let us know in the comment section so that way we are prepared on Tuesday. Big shout out to my wife there, Jazzy EP, for making that happen for us. I've got a hotel to stay in the night before. I took off time from work.
Yeah.
My office buddies are a little jealous that I get a little extended vacation there with Memorial Day weekend coming up. So the OTAs up to this point, we've seen a little bit, some of the exciting stuff. Did you see the clip today, Steve, of JD McKissick, his catch?
And the tweak, and the shimmy?
Yeah, and the shimmy. Oh, man. I don't know who it was who.
Yeah, I don't know either.
He literally grasped air.
Yeah.
After all that, JD McKissick was looking pretty good. From what I've heard, Carson Wentz, you can see the velocity from his throws. Now, of course, people did tweet out that he did have a pass intercepted by, of all people, Corn Elder. But where do you rate the excitement for these players, whether or not they're returning like JD McKissick or new ones like Carson Wentz?
Yeah, I think it's a little over moderate, maybe on a scale from 1 to 10. I'd say about a 7. I think we finally have in my opinion, our first franchise quarterback in a very long time.
I've argued on this channel Washington's never had a franchise quarterback.
Maybe Sonny Jurgensen, maybe Joe Theismann. Closest thing, right?
Closest. Joe Theismann was a punt returner at one point, and
True.
Sonny Jurgensen wasn't just a QB, but maybe you can count him as Sonny at least. I don't know about Joe. Joe would be a hard sell.
Do you know that Sonny is the last quarterback we've had that thrown over 30 touchdowns?
Yep.
And that was in 68, I think.
Kirk. It was a long time ago. Kirk Cousins gotten close.
He did.
He got to 29, I believe. Yep. But nobody else has gotten anywhere near that. Really depressing. Does Carson Wentz get there this year?
He's got, I think if everyone's healthy, he's got all the tools to do it. He's got 2 solid wide receiver 1 and wide receiver outs. Hard to say who's 2, who's 3. You can say 1.5 and 2. And then tight ends are looking strong. My favorite tight end, hey, go Logan, go Logan. Hopefully they're back healthy, but tight ends are looking strong with Cole Turner and our boy out of John Bates and the rest of the crew. So, and you got JD and Antonio back. He has all the tools. The tools are there. I don't know if he gets to 30 or not. At the end of the day, I don't care as long as we're getting the dubs.
Yeah, that's the big thing. And I agree with you. I think that Jahan Dotson's an exciting piece. Terry McLaurin is obviously a stud. We'll get to his contract discussion here in a little bit. But Curtis Samuel has been coming, a lot of people much maligned last season, right?
Yes.
Didn't really play, wasn't put on IR, just kind of one of those scratches throughout the year. He's been showing out here right in this early stages of OTAs. What do you expect from Curtis Samuel this year?
Yeah, he looks healthy. He looks fresh. Breaks look great. Like when we saw him in the last year, just didn't look clean. I think he's going to be that versatile Swiss Army knife that Scott Turner loves to have in this offense, which we really didn't have last year. We had, Samuels for a quick bit, and he did get a crucial 3rd down in one of the games last year. I cannot remember, but it was just a little end around, and he had a catch too.
Yeah, he had 4 catches, 3 of them for first downs. I think he finished with 20 yards.
Yes,
but it was like each, 3 of those are first downs, so you'll take it every time.
Very important, yeah, and like my man Anthony Armstrong say, the wide receiver is a position that you can have more than one guy who's like your go-to. So yeah, great to see Curtis out there. Heck, you earn your paycheck, buddy. I mean, we really, really need you this year. And hey, if you don't, we got Jahan Dotson in the shadows, just waiting.
What do you make of the rest of that wide receiver core? Cam Sims as the large target. Carson Wentz likes large targets, so you might be able to see some more action from him. And of course, De'Ami Brown, another one who had a disappointing season last year. Do we get more from the sophomore wide receiver?
I mean, I hope so. At this point, though, we're almost, we drafted him to be the long ball threat, right? Coming out of UNC off of Sam Howell of all people as his quarterback. We didn't see it last year. Now, I think a lot of that was the lack of the quarterback Taylor, and the offense just wasn't designed to go up top. I don't think that's how it's designed. So I don't know what role he plays now. I do know that Carson likes to go deep, and he has the arm for it. So
yeah, I really think that's what it came down to. So I think Scott Turner would have liked to have gone deep. And then you saw that a couple times. I mean, Cam Sims had the 40-yard bomb from Taylor Heineke, which was like a javelin throw. You also saw against Dallas, we actually called it, we were live streaming the game, and we called it play action deep to Terry McLaurin, and that's exactly what it was. So I do think that Scott Turner would like to open up this offense, but I think that the limitations with Heineke's arm were kind of why they didn't go deep as much. Carson Wentz likes to keep the plays extended, so I do think you might be able to see some of that. I just think De'Ami might be the odd one out. We talked about Cam Sims being a big target that Carson Wentz likes. We talked about the big 3, Terry, Jahan, and Curtis Samuel being, kind of that 1-2-3 punch. I just think De'Ami Brown isn't going to see the field as much as we could here. Metaphor, thanks for jumping on here. He's got a question. Hey, ref the district, OTA is exciting. Wish we can see some vid of the practices, needing Terry in there soon to connect more with Carson. I agree. That's going to be the big thing for the connection. We'll make sure that we get some video action as much as we can. They really haven't explained the rules as far as what the content creators are going to have access to. So I'm looking forward to seeing what. I was hesitant to kind of bring it up, but other content creators were like, yeah, we're going to be at OTA. So we wanted to get that out there. So we'll be sure to get as much as we can. I know we're not going to have access to Ron Rivera and the interview, but what we do have access to, we'll make sure to get as much content out of that as possible. Okay, so Gus Bus says injuries will always provide an opportunity for Diame to contribute. Yep, that's fair. Absolutely. I don't like counting on injuries. One, because you don't want to see your guys injured. And then two, those are so unpredictable, right? I do think Diame's going to have an opportunity. I just think that he's going to be that fifth receiver there. Steve, where do you kind of rank, the receivers after those big three?
Yeah, it's really a toss up between him and Cam. And if you're asking me, I think Terry, I hate to say this because it's such a overused term. We said it in the catch radius. He's bigger. He plays bigger than he actually is. So Jahan Dawson is a speedster as well. So where does he fit? If you're asking me, I say he's number 5 now. Cam Sims number 4. And just think about it. If Cam Sims go down, our wide receivers core is going to be looking like the little rascals.
Yeah,
I mean, they're all like this big, you know what I'm saying? Like comparative to the other size, which isn't a bad thing, but you always want to have that big targeted body wide receiver.
If you're not going to be tall, you got to have speed. So let's go to some of our tall guys. You have Logan Thomas on your chest right now.
Yes.
Obviously he's going to be coming back from injury. They picked up a 6'7" tight end. You have Samus Reyes returning from last season. Some promise there, showed some good blocking skills, maybe raw as receiver. John Bates, very surprising, especially coming down late in the season as far as kind of that receiving option. What do you think, pans out for these? Is Samus Reyes going to get knocked off this team, or are we going to see, a different kind of outlook here? Is your man Logan Thomas coming back healthy, and when is he coming back healthy?
Yeah, great question. So first and foremost, I don't think we know the roster rules yet, personnel roster rules, because last year we were under the COVID rules, which means you could secure a couple of people in the practice squad that were safe, that couldn't get stolen by other teams, to include multiple veterans, which you never had before. So hard to say until they establish those definitive roster rules, because if that is still into play with COVID as a backdrop, that you can have extra people in your practice squad and you can secure them from not getting signed, I think Samus is a lock to get at least a practice squad spot, because like you said before on your previous shows, his athleticism is just something you can't teach it. It's just you can't. Now you can teach the fundamental football skills, but you just cannot teach his physical stature and athletic ability, especially as a former basketball player. So, but I love some John Bates, and I love Cole Turner. We're set. Tight end is my second favorite position on the team outside of quarterback. So I think we're going to be great. Bates is a great blocker, which is good, because Logan's okay at blocking, but Bates is a really good blocker, and that dude doesn't drop anything. So I'm excited for the tight end core. Not going to lie.
Well, one name to add to this mix before we get to that name change suggestion for Metaphor, Gandy Golden is making the move from wide receiver to tight end. Is he going to be that move tight end like that, Ricky Seals-Jones was last year? Are we going to see anything from him? This seems like the young man's last straw to kind of stick around with this team.
Yeah, that's a great question. So truth be told, I was a huge AGG stan coming out of Liberty. I thought he was going to be the second coming of, a Gary Clark or something. Once again, the athletic ability just drew me into him. It was amazing. Some of the catches I saw him make at Liberty, and it just didn't pan out to the NFL, whether it was health, whether it was the knowledge of the playbook. It just didn't work out. And now for him to go to tight end, I'm thinking flashbacks of Niles Paul, and is this necessary? Do we need to do it? If they're going to put him from wide receiver to tight end, he's going to gain some weight. He's already a massive dude as it is. I think they see something there. I think that, he's a Ron guy. Ron drafted him. So I think this is his last chance, that I swear. If he doesn't pick it up, then I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, Tanner bringing up AGG and Harmon. He's over it. Our fan base loves the fringe roster a little too much. We agree, Tanner. I think it's just because, especially when you're talking about content creation and what that's where the interesting nuggets are, right? As those diamonds in the rough. We all know Terry McLaurin's going to be a stud. We hope Curtis Samuel comes back healthy and produces the way he did in his last year in Carolina. And Jahan Dotson is an exciting player that you want big things from. But then after that, you're like, ooh, what do you got in this? What do you got in this?
Right.
Logan Thomas is a quality tight end, but he's not going to be back, probably for the first 4 weeks or so, at least not fully 100% healthy. So what do you got there? Do you have AGG and the tight end role? Or are you going to look at someone like Samus Reyes, who they signed to a big contract, which they did for another young man this year from HBCU? You don't have to give these undrafted rookie free agents a 3-year deal. And yet they did. And so we'll see, what's going on. David can't believe Harmon's still around. People have been talking about him in these OTAs. I guess he's showing out yet again. He had a very exciting rookie season, last couple seasons injured. Does he crack the rock? Does he still, stick around this year, Steve?
Harmon, he could be wide receiver 6. I mean, I'm trying to, we don't have DeAndre Carter anymore. I kind of wish they would have kept him. He was a very shifty, reliable guy, but hard to say. Harmon's starting. If he makes the team this year, over on Command This, we kind of have a saying, who has the Reed Dowdy status, right? The guy that just is always there. They always have a job. And we've had someone on that team for a while.
Now? I think that's Troy Apke.
We had Kendrick Golston forever. I mean, we have these people that just figure out a way to make this team. And if Harmon makes this team after Gruden times, ACL, he's back on it, he might have the next Reed Dowdy title. I hope he does. I mean, great film coming out of college, but the injuries, he just couldn't get it together.
Yeah, injuries definitely derailed his young, promising career here. Doug Fred thinks Harmon is better than Cam Sims. We'll see. I do think that if you're looking at their rookie years, yes, but the best ability is availability. We're going to come back here, circle back to Metaphor's name suggestion. So if you're unaware, Steve is from the Command This podcast. And so Meta suggests, instead of Command This, Command D's. What do you think, Steve?
So, hey, Meta, that's a great comment, because the first iteration of this name was Command D's. I swear to you, Command D's. And we're like, you know what? Probably not going to go too well in the professional community if we have to, try to score and talk with some professional, whether it's alumni of the team or the team themselves. So we went with Command This. So just so you know, Command This is a variant of Command D's. There's history there.
So hit it right on the nose there with Metaphor. Let's go to our running backs. They did draft Brian Robinson Jr. in the 3rd round. Then we saw some of the running back drills. We talked about JD McKissick. What are you expecting from during OTAs? Is this going to battle kind of get sorted out? I mean, I don't know if you saw some of those videos, but Brian Robinson is a beast of a man. He looks so much bigger than our other running backs. And it's not like Gibson's really a small running back either.
Right. Truth be told, I was not a fan of the Brian Robinson pick. 3rd round, right? 3rd round?
Mm-hmm. Yep, 3rd round.
I think Nakobe Dean was still on the table. And like my compadre Dev says, we have a unproven linebacker core, for lack of a better term, without totally bashing them. It's a very weak position on defense. It's probably the weakest position on the defense. So I thought they would have went linebacker.
No love said, with Mayo and with your 3rd linebacker spot?
Nah, not really. I like Cole Holcomb. I'm probably in the minority, but I do like Cole Holcomb. And I like Jay moving to the outside. It's just that third linebacker, like you said, Mayo. So hope he proved me wrong. But running backs, I think we're good. Brian Robinson, 3/4 of the way through the season. Antonio Gibson's probably good for a stinger, a knee injury, a bruise. He takes a lot of punishment. He runs, doesn't run super low because he's a former wide receiver, so he's bound to get punished. And Robinson can just be that bowling ball who comes in and just trounces people. Now, with that being said, with McKissick, with Gibson, and with Robinson, my guy from Kentucky, Jared Patterson, I don't know if they will keep 4 running backs. That's a huge, huge question.
Big commitment there. Yeah, Jarrett Patterson of Buffalo. We're big fans of Jarrett Patterson on this one. We call it Jarrett frickin' Patterson, JFP in all of our chats. I think you're right. I think he might be the odd one out. Now, Gus Bus here saying could be or no, sorry, it was Tanner who says that Jarrett Patterson reminds him of Rock Cartwright, a name that I loved here. Great name, right?
Yep.
Kick returns is his hope to stay on the roster. I agree, and I think if you're talking about some of those fringe players like Gandy Golden and Harmon, you're looking at special teams as where they have to be able to contribute. Jarrett Patterson did get some reps, and when it came to kickoff returns, wasn't exactly special, but I mean, you're only returning 1 out of every 3 anyways, as they usually get sent for a touchback. But it'll be interesting. I do think he's the odd one out. No real risk losing him. You can probably stash him on the roster. You got Jonathan Williams as well, who's a little bit more dynamic in the passing game. Did he show enough, do you think, to kind of, make this running back a 5-person, battle?
No, I mean, given who we have now, I don't think he did. It was a great asset to have him on the team last year towards the end of the season. A lot of injuries, but no, I think he's. I mean, if anyone's an odd man out, it's Jonathan Williams for sure.
All right, P4, shout out to you as well. Now, let's move on to the defensive side of the ball. You brought up the linebacker core, a little weak there when you have the 2 starters. Now, I'm a big believer that the third safety is more important than that third linebacker. I think that the safeties are looking fairly decent when you look at McCain, Cam Curl, and now Percy Butler as a 1-2-3 punch. So I like that. And I do think you have some, interest with Derek Forrest as kind of that 4th safety. Linebacker, though, you mentioned it, right? So you've got Cole Holcomb, who's going to start in the center. And then they're finally understanding that Jamin Davis doesn't play in the middle. Even though he's got that range and speed, you really want to use that to your advantage on the outside. Who is that next one stepping in, though? Is it going to be Mayo, or are we going to live with that? Or with one of these running backs, maybe Shaka Toney, moving him back from defensive end back into a linebacker spot? Seems he's more built for that.
Yeah, you bring up a lot of good points. Shaka Toney could be a possibility to move back because he's on the smaller end of being a DN, like you said. But yeah, linebacker core, you do bring a little bit calm to my nerves because you're right. It's not as important when you have that third safety, the box safety, another overterm I'm going to use, Buffalo nickel again, the Landon Collins role, which, if I'm not mistaken, there was some interest there a couple weeks ago of him coming back. But yeah, not as worried. I think no disrespect to Jahan Dotson, Kyle Hamilton would have fixed a lot of those problems if we had drafted him at 11. But he's in Baltimore. That's fine. So Jack Del Rio is just going to have to get creative, keep them on their toes, keep fresh rotations in, keep rotations out, blitz. You just can't afford to be lazy and put those players in positions to be successful.
Shout out to Trey Z, DMV Sports 3, the OGs. Love to see Trey Z here in the chat here. Linebacker is still a hole unless Del Rio is going to blitz this year. Kind of, those same sentiments you had, Steve. They do need to be a little bit more aggressive. That defensive line, too. You should hopefully have a healthy Chase Young for most of the year. Montez Sweat on the outside. Not a lot of depth, just like last year. Not a lot of depth, at least from quality, players. I mean, you do have potentially Shaka Toney, William Bradley King. Bada is another name, although he plays interior quite a bit. So the problem that line was having, as vaunted as it is with as many first round picks that they've put in there, they weren't being really aggressive. And so when you're not aggressive, you're allowing them to get chunks of yards with the running game. You're allowing them to have the time to be able to find the wide receivers downfield. A lot of that came with that Sam Mills just run deep and try to get that interior pressure to kind of force them out into you. And it just wasn't working. What do you want to see from the tandem there on the defensive line, either tandem, Jonathan Allen and Deron Payne, or Montez Sweat and Chase Young this year?
I mean, I want to see stunts. I want to see movement. We saw glimpses of it last year in the very beginning of the season when Montez and Chase were both healthy, and it was always successful. But then all of a sudden, Jack Del Rio would just stop in rush 4 or rush 5, like Metaphor just said. And I just want to see creativity, movement. I think it's, especially Chase coming off an injury, you cannot rely on their pure athletic ability for them to get to the quarterback. You have to move them around, stunt them, move them on the inside. I mean, heck, have John Allen, Deron Payne, Chase Young, Montez Sweat, and I'm just having a brain fart. Who was our other tackle we just signed? Rookie, we just drafted. Brain fart.
Fedarian Mathis.
Fedarian Mathis. Have them all out there at one time, man. Like really throw the gamut at these guys. Like, you just have to be creative. And at times we just stopped being creative and just went into that. I'm not going to call it a prevent defense, but like you said, it's like just come to us sort of defense, and it just was not working.
Yeah, the bend don't break kind of defense. Only it was just bending a little bit more than you'd ever want to see. It will be interesting. Great point by Metaphor. Every time they had a 5-man front, that's technically a blitz. Tommy T brought up the new pickup there, F.A. Obata, new addition there. I do think that you can see him getting quality minutes, especially with Chase Young, kind of still coming back from injury there. Gus Bus brings up the schedule. Not a lot of tough QBs this year, but the team does face some tough running games. Not only that, but they face a gambit of defensive ends, some quality defensive ends this year. Do you feel strongly about this reworked offensive line, losing Brandon Sheriff, not really kind of filling in with, big name pieces? Steve, what do you think? And what do you think they should be doing during OTAs to kind of sort this out?
I mean, protection of Carson needs to be of the utmost importance. We've seen Ryan Kerrigan break his back, but that was on the scramble. If you remember that, going up the middle when Philly played Washington. But you must protect Carson Wentz. Andrew Noel, I never really watched him in Jacksonville. I've heard that he's very well. He's no Brandon Sheriff. And the NFC East got better this year on the bookends for all three teams. The guy from Philadelphia in the first round specifically scares me. Jordan, forget his last name. He's a monster, and he's going to be going up against Andrew Norwell. So get the ball out quick. This pass blocking from our running backs becomes important. I don't know if Brian Robinson can pass block. I know Antonio Gibson is okay. JD McKissick is a good pass blocker.
Yeah, very reliable. And I think that's why he saw a lot of time last season was because of that. You weren't necessarily going to roll him out as a receiving threat as much as it was just like you just needed somebody to make sure your QB stays upright.
Yep. And if you want Carson to go long, utilize these weapons we have, Terry, Jahan, Curtis Samuel, he's going to need at least 3 seconds in the pocket to make something happen. You got to protect him.
You know how I know you're a vet? You use words like utilize. It would behoove them, right, Steve? He knows what I'm talking
blade
about.
Hands.
Yeah, the NCO, blade hands. Yeah, absolutely. Now the coaches, this year, the fans have been kind of putting them a little bit under pressure. What do you want to see this year from Jack Del Rio and Scott Turner?
Yeah, I just kind of said before on defense, Jack Del Rio, creativity, move those guys around. You have all the talent in the world, but if you're just rushing them north and south every time, it's not going to do anything. Move people around, call blitzes, call stunts, bring some guys off the edge, bring some corners in, and just be creative, and it'll just work itself out. From the offense, just want to see. We saw inklings of it last year under Taylor, which is very surprising, and I think we can truly expand on it. Is just sustain drives. A couple of these drives where we went game-winning drives, we sustained drives, which was pretty awesome. We didn't see that a lot in the previous years, but sustain drives and make the good plays when you need to make them. Good teams do routine things routinely. So if it's 3rd and 1, go get your 1 yard. We're not running Taylor Heineke up the middle anymore on 3rd and 1.
I mean, at least we're not the Giants doing 3 QB sneaks back to back. I'm hoping that is just Steve frozen and not me. So I'm going to continue talking a little bit. Okay, so we're back there. Froze just a little bit. Yeah. The metaphor, I mentioned Sam's Mills when I talked about that, kind of the way that they're teaching. That one is definitely the biggest question. I think of the the line doesn't perform, I think that Sam Mills is going to be gone off this team. When it comes to Jack Del Rio, you're right, some creativity there. I think he's starting to get some of the pieces that would allow him to do that. You see some creativity with their lineups, right? They like that 5-man front. They like bringing in that third safety. I think that they now have the pieces for that. Scott Turner finally has a QB who can throw the ball reliably past 20 yards. So I think you're going to see some opening there. And the good thing is, as one gets better, the other gets better as well, right? So if the offense is able to start reliably putting up points on the board or making those long drives that you mentioned, Steve, I think the defense will start seeing some improvement as well. We'll see. Right now it's OTAs and we're just kind of getting a feel for how the players are. And I think there's some excitement there. And there's also some worry, as one of the people not in OTAs is our man, Terry McLaurin. How confident, on a scale from 1 to 10, do you feel about a Terry McLaurin deal being done before the season?
I don't think it's going to happen. I know there people are more optimistic. If I'm Terry, I'll play, but you want to get to that. And I'm thinking that from a player's perspective. You want to get that franchise tag put on you, because all that does is set your floor for the follow-on years. You know, I love players. I'm not giving anyone a discount at all by any means. Get that franchise tag. So you got to play through this year, get the franchise tag next year, and just go. I mean, I said this on your show on May 11th. I don't know if you remember this, you and Toothpick. I was texting in the comments that I truly believe that Jahan Dotson is Terry's insurance policy. I truly believe that. I'm not saying he's not going to get signed. I'm just saying he was the insurance policy for Jahan Dotson. And on a scale from 1 to 10, the deal gets done. I'm going to say 10 being the highest, 1 being the lowest. I'm going to say 7. 7, not done this year, but actually not. For this year, I'll give it a 4, and next year I'll give it an 8.
Wow. So not really bullish on their metaphor. Says July 20th, the deal will get complete. Tommy T says, please, not another franchise tag situation. Just trade him. Yeah. I don't think either of those things are going to happen. If I had to, on a scale from 1 to 10, how confident am I that a deal is going to get done? I'm a 13.
Awesome.
All right. So. I'm a 17. I'll say a 17 because that's his number. 14's my number. Maybe I could have gone with that, but now it's actually Sam Howell's number. No, I think that the deal's I think it's going to get done. I do think the numbers have changed since the start of what they were kind of thinking. And yes, the franchise tag is still available. That's a tool that they can use in negotiation. I think it's $20 million a year for that franchise, but you're not going to do that to this. You're not going to do it to Terry McLaurin. You don't put him as the face of this rebranding, right? He's on everything. He was one of the players that we got to see in the new uniform. He's a captain on this team. And I think that all in all, as long as Ron Rivera is here, this is the kind of player that he wants. He wants somebody who is mild-mannered, quiet, does the job, leads with, by doing all the right things. So this deal is going to get done. I think it's going to cost Washington more than what they wanted it to cost, but they're going to get this deal done. And I agree with Meta. I think, July 20th timeframe, right around there, right before camp, it's similar to what we saw with the Jonathan Allen deal last year. It's just something that they know they need to get done. They're waiting this long. Free money starting, freed up money rather, come 1 June with those cuts. It's going to happen. Tanner says 25 million tops. That Terry is a tier 2 receiver, not a tier 1. He is in the same league as Tyreek Hill and others.
Yeah.
You're going to hurt a lot of people's feelings there, Tanner. A lot of people, love themselves some scary Terry. What do you think about that statement, Steve, as far as being a tier 2 wide receiver? Where would you?
I don't think he's a tier 2. I think he's a tier 1, but I would say the bottom of a tier 1. I see how the argument can go either way, but the team really missed the boat, like you said earlier, about not signing him because, Allen Robinson was kind of the first one off the books, 15.5. You had Robert Woods, 16.2. I'm sorry, that was a little bit earlier. You had Christian Kirk was at 18.
I was about to say that's the one that really reset the market when he got that big of a deal. Every wide receiver looking for a payday just wanted to go buy him a brand new car and everything. That's
Brandon
ridiculous
Cooks
amount
got
of money.
19.8. Mike Williams, 20. Chris Godwin, 20. So DJ Moore, 20.6. Stephon Diggs, 24. AJ Brown, 25. So they really missed the boat on getting in on those. They probably could have got him at 23, but someone said it earlier in the comments. Terry is 26.
He is older. I think he'll be 27 this year.
So he's probably got that in his mind. Like, I got to get as much money as I can, and I can't blame him. So I don't know what the value is going to be, what the price, but it's only going up, especially as TV revenues go up every year. Salaries cap continue to rise every year. I mean, the team really missed the boat by not getting him done during that initial batch of the 20 to or 18 to 23.
Waiting this one out is definitely going to cost him a few million years. So
but
he is 26 right now, but he will be 27 during the season. Birthday is September 15th. You can earmark that in the calendar. Make sure you wish him a happy birthday. Right. I think that this deal is going to be somewhere between 23 to 25 million a year. He is an older wide receiver, but again, he's two-time captain. He's what this team wants, part of the rebrand. I just think that the deal's going to get done. And yes, Tanner, the market changed this year. Hills, Adams, honestly, those two even benefited from that Kirk contract because, that guy wasn't anywhere on anybody's radar as even a tier 2 wide receiver, in my opinion. And for him to get 18 million a year just really set the bar for some of those younger wide receivers like Terry, who, is seen as at least a top 20 wide receiver. In this fan base, we would see him as anywhere from top 15 to top 10, but realistically in the league, he's a top 20 wide receiver. And I think that he's going to see a paycheck that's within that range there. I wouldn't put him in Hills or Adams or Justin Jefferson, who I'm really high on, who we will face this year. But I do think that he's going to be worth every penny for this team. One of the things that's interesting here, and even though I'm as bullish as I am, as certain as I am, Steve, that the deal's going to get done, is do they want to wait it out to see if they have chemistry between Carson Wentz and Terry McLaurin?
They should not, because it's clear Terry can perform with whoever is under center. It doesn't matter. The dude is he's going to make that quarterback look better. Look what he did with Heineke. How many times do you remember Heineke just closing his eyes and throwing the ball, and Terry caught it? We saw it in the first game of the season against
the Chargers,
that over the shoulder catch, like
the one falling out of bounds with the Chargers, glancing across the face. Unbelievable.
Yeah. Catch. And I won't be as mad as them not re-signing Settle and Ioannidis if they get Terry, because I believe there were some reasons for not letting these guys, and DeAndre Carter too, those re-signing these guys because they weren't signed on huge deals on their other teams. So if the justification for them for leaving was to get Terry, hey, that's awesome. I'm all for it.
I do think some of that's the reason why they didn't restructure the Carson Wentz contract and some other reasons. A lot of interesting pieces there. Deals should get done before camp. We'll see. Steve is at a 7. I'm at a 17. Where are you at on a scale from 1 to 10? 10 being the deal is getting done. Let us know in the chat. Comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. You brought up 2 of the players that Washington let walk. Now, they did get Fedarian Mathis to replace Tim Settle and Matt Ioannidis, but another one who walked out, supposedly, of practice is Daron Payne. Now, he did refute that on his own Twitter. He's just like, you think I walked out? We're always working. Jonathan Allen seeming to have patched up that hullabaloo from last season. Those two have been seen out in public, and he even responded to that tweet. What do you think is going on with Daron Payne and his spot within this team?
He has a spot. He's a first rounder. He's a dog. Now, if you look at productivity for salary, Terry just blows him out of the water. He really does. Terry's a 3rd round pick. He's making 2 something. Daron Payne's 8.5 million. Like, he's getting a lot of money this year. He doesn't have a deal next year. So I get it. If I was the team, I probably would have kept Settle Ioannidis, and I would have traded Payne before the draft. That's what I would have done. Just because of the money situation. You already have you re-signed Allen. So I don't see a situation where we re-sign Allen and we re-sign Payne. I just don't. And we need to re-sign Terry. I don't see it. So to me, Payne is gone. He's gone. It's inevitable. He's gone. So they should have shipped him before the draft to get some capital, and we wouldn't even be talking about this right now.
Yeah, I think that a lot of people expected that. And I think when you have those expectations, especially from other GMs, it kind of tanks the value for the player. If Deron Payne does leave this team, he's at least worth a comp pick, a third round comp pick. So you didn't want to ship him away for anything less than that. And so I think that situation is going to be interesting to see as it unfolds. I think that defensive tackle, because you're, like I said, you're already paying Jonathan Allen, top money for a defensive lineman. Did you want to really spend that kind of money for another defensive lineman when that could be used elsewhere? I think that's where he's going to get squeezed out. I think that he is a good player, would like to see him on the team, much like I wanted Brandon Sheriff to remain on this team. But I think that it's just going to be one of those situations where he will get squeezed out. I do wish the fan base would relent a little bit, ease up off of Deron Payne.
Yeah,
maybe some of the media. I know a lot of content creators seem to be a little harsh on the media. I'm not one of them. I think that, that they're just doing their jobs, and maybe that comes from my background as public affairs, a broadcaster, but that ease off of Deron Payne, everybody. I think that he's going to play very well for the Commanders this year. Whether or not he continues playing is yet to be seen, and whether or not we'll be playing at FedEx or DC or Virginia, all that's coming up here in the cool down. News broke this weekend, or actually it was Monday, suspiciously the day after the Snyder news dropped, that Washington Commanders purchased land in Virginia. Now, hold your horses. The conversation didn't just end there, Steve, right? It went from they purchased land in Virginia to it was purchased in Dumfries. Then it was purchased in Woodward. And then turns out there wasn't actually a purchase at all. It was the right to purchase. What do you make of that whole string of nonsense on Monday, Steve?
Yeah, I a piece of me just says it was a leak that wasn't supposed to happen, or it was a leak that didn't get leaked properly, because there's always a reason behind why things get leaked to the media. And in this case, it was probably to, pit people against each other, pit Virginia against Maryland, pit Virginia against DC. But in this case, the leak wasn't even right, because it came out as Dumfries and it came out as $100 million of purchase for 200 acres. And then it just turned out was, like you said, it wasn't even bought. It was the option to buy. So what did we really accomplish besides stirring up the ether and on the Twitter sphere and
people were
content creators
up.
and yeah, and I'm not a fan of this team. I'm going to Baltimore, or I'm going down to Carolina, and it was all for nothing. You know what I mean? The team's got to do what they got to do, what's best for them. Woodbridge is near and dear to my heart. I moved there in '87, and my family's still there. I was there till 2003. So Woodbridge is my hometown. I like it. It's very overcrowded, and traffic stinks on that corner of I-95. If you've ever been there, it's awful. That's why I don't go see my parents as much as I should, because that corner is terrible.
It is an awful drive.
It was just, I think it was just a leak that just didn't get leaked right, if that makes sense. That makes sense?
Yeah, I do. I think it was a very deliberate leak. I think that it was, maybe tinfoil hat time. I don't have my buttons here on the move for the conspiracy music, but I think that the leak was deliberate to kind of pull away from the Snyder talk, and I think that honestly I feel like that's valid, because we've talked with some of the team members, and Ron's come out and kind of said it. Anytime there's good news, the team is hit with something of bad news, right?
Yep.
Now, they're just deserved bad news that's happening in the press. Okay. I'm not saying that that's not worthy news to be put out there, but the team kind of feels like they never gained that momentum. So I think that they're kind of trying to counter that now, playing the game of like, okay, well, this news dropped. Let's throw out some news to maybe, kind of turn it into something that's not the negative side. Unfortunately, fans, being fans that they are, did kind of go negative. They were attacking each other. there's two sides to this that I just feel are absolutely ridiculous takes. All right. There's the Marylanders who, and again, Annapolis, I'm a Marylander who I'm 30 minutes from the stadium right now. So of course I'm a little biased. I don't really want them to leave FedEx.
I'm with you. I'm in Silver Spring. I'm just like you. I'm 15 minutes away. It's great.
Right there. But the Marylanders who are like, oh, if it goes down to Virginia, then I'm not going to be a fan of the team, or I'm not going to drive down there to see the games. It's ridiculous. That's horrible take. Likewise, the Virginians who are telling those like, well, you know, I've driven 3 hours for years. You can go ahead and suck it up now. Like, no, that's not the right take.
Nope.
Now, Steve, you and I are on the Maryland side. What do you feel about, you know, if Washington moves away from Maryland, are they really losing any more ground to the Baltimore Ravens?
A little bit, I think. We saw that evidence of a lot of the tweets we saw. You know, I'm going to Baltimore. It's sad because I think if you're winning, you could put it in the middle of nowhere and people will show up because it's a winning product. But in our case, we've struggled. We've had a lot of bad PR. So the location, they have to nail it. Wherever it is, they have to nail it. I don't know if they'll lose people to Baltimore as much as opposed to people that just won't go to the stadium. I don't think people would change teams as much as people have been tweeting that they would.
Yeah, that's such a knee-jerk reaction there.
Yeah.
Shout out to the First String Podcast. What's good? Check them out as well if you haven't already, from Toothpicks time on the channel here. Now, one of the things, the pictures looked good, right? Like they're talking about, and one of the reasons why there's the option to buy land in Virginia. And if you didn't already know this, Dan Snyder and the team own quite a bit of that land around FedEx. So what they're wanting to do is build this massive complex. They shared some amazing pictures of kind of what Jerry's World is, right? Where there's like these shops and there's these things to do. They're going to have like an amphitheater outside. One of the things that I thought was most exciting to me, maybe not to some others because it's just a weird thing to be excited about, was a stadium that only seats 60,000 people. What did you think about that, Steve?
Awesome. It's a very intimate setting, very RFK-like. If you've ever been there, it's very small. That's what it's got to be. Not the 92,000 as FedEx originally was, where I have to top the Dallas Cowboys and Jerry Jones top the 92. No, 60,000. Make it desirable, make it competitive, make people fight to get in there. And that is a key to success. I truly believe that. And people keep saying, like you said, Dallas is standard. I think Patriot Place in Foxborough, the Patriots is the place to be, because it's an entire shopping mall complex that's around Gillette Stadium. Like that's the model to do. You want to give people something to do when they get there. If there's especially if it's not going to be a metro, you need to increase parking. You need to lower parking fees. You have to do that. If there's not public transport, you have to do that.
One of the things I think that will be worked with this deal, wherever the new stadium goes, is I think that they're going to work real hard with the counties to increase the public transit aspect. Because I think that is big. I mean, it's not like FedEx Field is currently really accessible via the line, but at least it's only like a mile walk. Like, I mean, it's a hike.
Morgan Boulevard's in 1 mile. It's like 0.85, something like that. Yeah.
So, but at least it's there. Dumfries, not so much. The Woodbridge, same kind of scenario. The area that they have out in Dulles, there's the line that's going to be out there, but nothing leaked as far as a option to buy with that. So I do wonder, a lot of, like you mentioned it, and a couple of our other people have commented here, this is probably to gain our reaction on where the stadium's going to be. It's also, I think, as you talked about, I think it's also they want to start the bidding war. Right now, Washington has not been winning this negotiation. Team, Maryland has straight up said, no, go ahead. You guys want to pay, billions of dollars, Virginia? Go ahead and pay billions of dollars. So it would be best for the team if these counties, if these states were fighting for them, rather than being like, no, you go ahead and take them this time. We've had them for 20 years and it hasn't worked out for us. It will be interesting to see where that stadium goes. And Buffalo just got their stadium deal.
2026.
2026. So FedEx is up in 2027.
That's
Do
correct.
we see a new stadium before FedEx goes away?
Yes, I think we will. Yeah, you have to. Either you keep it and build around it, or like I don't think there's a way around it. And you hinted on it just a second ago. As a former public affairs officer, I think that when you leak stuff like this, it's better than paying $1 million to a marketing firm, a surveying firm. I have free access to free polling, so I'm going to leak this. I'm going to see the reaction, just like the name thing. I can leak these names and see what are people feeling like. Do they like it? Do they not like it? Is it testing well in this category? Testing around this demographic, and I think there's maybe a little flavor to that, but if it's going to be in FedEx field, if it's going to be in the FedEx site, of course we have to see something, right? So yeah, I don't know. This is exciting. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you, Nate.
Well, it all is exciting. OTAs are underway. Myself and Trev will be at OTAs on Tuesday. Don't forget to let us know what you want from it. I'll make sure we put out a community post for that as well. Like I said, we're going to try to get Steve and the Command This podcast out. Steve, where can our listeners find you?
Yeah, you can find us on all your normal podcast platform, Google, Apple, Spotify, at @command_this on Twitter, and especially our YouTube page. You can just go on YouTube and look up at Command This. There still might be some remnants of the Washington Football Addicts laying around, but yeah, you'll see us on all the major podcast platforms. You can also find us in all the other content creator streams, because we like to, we're friends of the show, friends of Ref the District, and we like to jump in everyone's live streams, everyone's comments, because we're all one big family here in the Washington content creator community. So thanks for having me on.
No, I appreciate you jumping on. This has been episode 70 of Ref the District. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel. Let us know, where do you want the stadium and what do you expect from OTAs as well. We stream live every Wednesday on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter at 7:30 p.m. And we love to have people join in with us. And until next time, be a fan.
Be a fan. That's right.
We love Washington, and we some die-hard fans. Yeah, we are. You know we keep it on 10. Let's talk about the offense. 1, 2, 3, let's go. And they gifted. We are Ref the District.